Good morning. It's Sunday morning, 9 o'clock, and here I am, Norma Cowie, with a Sunday thought. As you can imagine, I quite often think about what am I going to talk about on Sunday thought, because it's, no, there's lots of topics, but weeks run, and there's 52 weeks in a year. And by the way, right here where I live, summer's kind of creeping out. Fall is creeping in. We've had a huge temperature drop in the last few days. I had to put an extra quilt on my bed. I kind of put the heat up a little bit. And it's like, oh no, because I love the summer. I love the heat. I was raised with heat and I like it. And anyway, so here we are today. Now, what I'm talking about this morning is disappointment. Where does disappointment come from? How does it affect us? And the understanding of disappointment. Some people live in disappointment. I have done readings for people who everything is bad or nothing works, doesn't matter what they do. And as I was contemplating disappointment, I realized disappointments come from expectations. When we have an expectation of a certain event or situation or whatever happening, and it doesn't happen, depending on how much energy we've given that expectation, we're going to move into disappointment. And when we move into disappointment, that is a sort of a hard and heavy feeling. And it's a emotion that we have. The unfortunate thing with disappointment, unless we can come to terms with the expectation, the disappointment continues. Now, what often happens inside of us attracts similar things. We attract it. So if we move into disappointment, we can become depressed. And if we become depressed, what ends up happening is we don't see any joy or light, or everything is hard. And I'm sure everybody knows somebody that's like that. I know I've gone through periods of time in my life when I was experiencing depression, when things didn't go the way I figured that they should. And that's because I had an expectation of how it should be and how it should work out and et cetera, et cetera. So I come to the conclusion, when you have disappointment, you need to look at your expectation of the situation, whatever it was. Was that expectation realistic? Was the events around the expectation viable? I sometimes have looked at things I had expectations of and realized I really wasn't viable. Like the situation wasn't really there. It wasn't really called for as much as I wanted it to be. So what happens then, you go into this disappointment, and then what begins to happen is that you don't expect the good things. You don't expect what you want to have happen in your life because you had an expectation over here, which, remember, expectations are not based in reality. They're based in our sense of being, of who we are. And so it's like we are expecting this result, A, but we're dealing with B. And we can't sometimes in our mind put it together because emotionally we are expecting this result and we're getting that result. Mainly because we're dealing with other people. And other people don't always see things the way we see them or the way we want to perceive them, et cetera, et cetera. So why am I talking about this today? Is because we are shifting from summer, well, in a few weeks away, into fall. And fall is usually kind of heavier than summer, is more lighter, moving much nicer. For me, it's perfect. I can live with that for a long time. But it's not for everybody. Sometimes it's too hot and it's too this and too that. And they can't wait for the cooler weather to come. And that's fine. So they're waiting with expectation. So the expectation tends to be up here. It's not based in a reality. It's an expectation, waiting. And in that waiting, what begins to happen is we create in our minds an outcome or how it will be, how it will feel, what will occur. So it's like we create this scenario. When the reality comes in, it may not work, may not equal, may not come together. It may not be the same at all. So what happens then? The expectation drops down to what I'm just going to call it as disappointment. Sometimes goes deeper. Sometimes we go into hurt and pain, especially around relationships too. And I don't really want to get into that today, but relationships, very often we have an expectation the other person or a person is going to behave in a certain way, and they don't. And so now down we go into the disappointment. And if you can understand the correlation between the two, you can begin to look at your expectation and ask, was this based in reality? Or was it based in my hope, my prayer, my wanting? Very often we want something. We want something to be a certain way, and then it doesn't happen that way. It may happen another way, but it won't happen the way you want. But when you have an expectation of event A, event A leading to event B, what we're going to do when it doesn't happen, what happens then is that we're going to drop into disappointment. And when we drop into disappointment, we can respond in different ways. We can blame others. We can blame circumstances. And I actually looked into my little God box here that I have. And mental mind tree people know that on Monday nights that I use that God box and insight cards. But I just thought, I wonder what it says. And I picked out a card, and guess what it said? You won't guess. This is what it said. Blaming another, I see my own faults. Forgiving my brother, I set us both free. Because very often when somebody doesn't act as what we expect, it's their fault. They have done something wrong. And on the back, this card always has two sayings on it. It says, it's a little circle going around. It says, I am you and you are me, and we are all together. Yes, we all have expectations. A lot of those expectations do not come into reality. And because they do not come into reality, what ends up happening, we have a number of people walking around disappointed in life. They don't feel life gives them what they want. Now, I could go on and on about how we can create and how we can goal set and how that can look and but I found in my life, not everything that I want or wanted, should say, comes into reality. How I want it, when I want it. And I had to deal with my disappointments over the years of that. And eventually I came to realize that there was a different way of creating. And that was becoming aligned with what I call the love force, God, if you will, whatever name you want to give that force, I do not mind. It's your personal connection. And beginning to work with that by handing it over, by allowing it. Now, that doesn't mean I just sit there like this and say, okay, give me this. I work with it in my mind, in my heart, come into an alignment. I see it clearly. So it's a lot about visualization. It's about, in a way, an expectation. By giving it over, your highest and best is being activated. Now, that's a term that in the metaphysical ministry, we used to hear a lot. Ask for the highest and best for yourself. What is the high? How do we know what's the best for us? How do we know what it is? We presume we know because we want this, but maybe this isn't the best for us. So we have an expectation over here. It's going to be this and everything's going to be fine. I'll be able to do this, that, the other. And then it doesn't happen. Crashes into reality. Oh, things don't work. Things don't work in the way that I want. That takes a lot of coming to terms with, that we actually have a partner in this energy that will bring us the best for us. And sometimes the best for us, the highest and the best for us, is not what we expect. And when we have an expectation that isn't met, we will have disappointment and we will blame very often. We will blame whatever. We will blame God. We will blame the person who didn't meet our expectation. So I want you to think about, what are your goals? What are you expecting in life? What are you waiting to have happen? What are your expectations? And are you disappointed when they don't come? And if you are disappointed, what are you doing with that? Where is that energy going? Is it going inside your system? Is it being presented or whatever? Anyway, that's my Sunday thought today, because we want to live with the highest and the best happening to us. We want to feel as best we possibly can. We want to feel complete. We want to feel happy. We want to have things work the way we want them to work and be able to survive easily when they don't. Because we recognize, okay, for whatever reason, that things weren't coming together the way we wanted. I wish you well on this Sunday. I'm just want to mention before I say hi to the people that have written in their notes for me, is that on Wednesday, it will be the last Wednesday in August, so I'll be doing my reading for September. So we'll see how it is. Excuse me. Okay, I just want to say hi, Karen, and I really am pleased to see that you wrote in before. Often I'm finished or I'm finishing and I've clicked out and there's your name. But anyway, Karen, glad you made it this morning. Caleb, thank you, and again, lots of lovely thoughts for you too. Yes, I will live long. I've already lived long, my dear, and better health is around the corner. Anyway, I want to thank you for both your messages. And Yvonne, I'm glad you also got in too before everything is all ended. And thank you for saying it was the perfect message for you. I think it's for all of us, because that's what came to me. I ask, sometimes I sit here and what do I do? And then that's what came in. And Karen, thank you very, very much for your second comment here. I appreciate it. And I will be back on Wednesday, 9:00 in the morning with Norma Talks. And I guess I'll have the reading for September. We'll see. Blessings. Take care. Have a great day. Bye.